Stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda items. Are there any questions from councilors?
Yes. Should the consent agenda be reflecting that we didn't have the minutes? Or am I looking at an old one?
I'm not sure what you're saying. We don't have the minutes on this one.
Yes, I know. On my agenda, it says approval of consent agenda, and that would be the minutes and the claims, but I didn't get a copy of the minutes because they weren't complete, I believe.
Right.
So it should not.
The agenda posted was the approval of the November 17, 2025 claims only.
Right. The minutes weren't listed there.
Okay. The one I'm looking at on my desk still said it. That's why I was just making
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, that was the preliminary agenda. The one that was
Okay,
posted
that's
does
fine
not
then.
have the claims on it.
That was just my question.
Or not have the
When I looked down and saw
minutes
that
on
it was
it.
still on there on the one in front of me.
Yeah, so the only thing on the consent agenda is approval of November 17, 2025 claims.
Sounds good.
So, any questions from councilors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
First from Councilor Stein, second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a request to speak on agenda item. Amy, do we have any requests to speak?
No, we do not.
All right, then we will move on to the mayor or a mayor administration update. We have Mayor Stair with us this morning.
I don't think it's on. Go ahead, John.
Hold on.
There it is. I think we have it. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience on the microphone here. I just have a couple of quick things this morning. The first is, since council approved the Sycamore, Maine, and now my computer's frozen. There we go. Since council approved the Sycamore Main Street infrastructure project at your last meeting, there are a couple of planning updates. I just wanted to let you know that we're working right now with utility companies to identify their timeframes and their needs in that area, and that is going to inform the exact rights of way that we will need. And we're also having very early discussions with landowners in the area about how this could affect them. The final design work depends upon these factors and a few others, and they will have an impact on things like pedestrian needs and the aesthetics of the project, which I know are very important to everyone. Final design work will follow then. And we want to be transparent as possible in this process, so we're planning an extensive public outreach during this time, including a pair of public meetings where we will talk about the progress and take public comments. Those will be, as noted here, on December 10th, here at Town Hall from 4 to 6 p.m., and then again on January 13th from 5 to 7 p.m. Now, I know that's a ways off, but the holidays are coming up, and we want to make sure we have time to publicize these and get as many people out here who would like to weigh in as possible. We know that the interest in this project is very high, and we intend to continue that extensive public outreach as we go through. Also, construction will begin at Crossbridge Point, which is the section of Wild Air devoted to housing adults with developmental disabilities. That area includes 17 home sites. We've talked about this before. It is a first-of-its-kind project that is supported by the group Independent Living for Adults with Developmental and Intellectual Disabilities, ILAD, which is located here in Zionsville. That groundbreaking is this Friday, November 21st at 4 p.m., and it'll be a great day for both Wild Air and for the folks from ILAD. So we hope as many people come out and take part in that as possible. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next on the agenda, we have a stormwater presentation. We have DPW Director Lance Lance, Brad Merriweather, and Bobby Knox to present. Before they get started on this, I would just point out to council, there's no action needed on the council. This is presentation purposes.
Morning. Might need a little assistance in getting this into presentation mode, although you can see things on the screen. We were looking for, John, maybe you could help with getting into, so we can see screen notes on this display. Is that a Windows thing?
Next meeting, you're not going to be at?
No, I think I'm here.
Based on how often you come in here and brag about your good weekends, that's probably right.
This worked very well at about 6:45 this morning. I don't know why it doesn't like these monitors set up here.
There you go.
All right, we're up and running. Thank you. Thank you for your
Okay, I'm
patience. And good morning. Pleased to be here this morning to update you and anyone who may be listening on some of the stormwater activities and actions and statuses of the Stormwater Division of the Department of Public Works. As President Plunkett said, the good news is there's no action to this, so sit back and enjoy. There should be some familiar content in the presentation this morning, as well as some new content, some new updates to get in front of you and activities. Speaking of familiar and new, we have some familiar faces. Michael Susong, Stormwater Division Supervisor for the DPW, Bobby Knox, Senior Stormwater Technician, and hiding in the second row, Brad Merriweather, our Deputy Director of DPW, and Brad comes from another community here in central Indiana who had implement these same permit requirements, responsibilities, and programs. Just a brief overview of this morning. We are required to give this update at least annually to the elected officials per our permit. We do have an NPDES permit to treat stormwater, just as we do with sanitary sewer systems, and that means we need to make sure that the rain that falls in our community makes its way to Eagle Creek in as clean a form as it can and doesn't flood things out along the way. We will review the 6 minimum control measures. Those are essentially the backbones of our permit program. We'll talk a little bit about the other things that the Stormwater Division does. We'll give you a brief update on a potential utility rate study that has been ongoing. And of course, all of this comes with a cost, so we'll talk a little bit about the expenses necessary to maintain compliance. I believe, Michael, you're going to tee us up with the technical portions.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. The goal of MCM1 is to communicate to residents, town staff, and then also visitors that we are a regulated MS4. The town's website has information about our program and efforts. All new hires watch the Blue is the New Green video, which outlines and provides background and awareness about stormwater regulations and things that need to be considered as they are an employee. The White River Alliance is an Indianapolis-based organization that helps with this effort. Zionsville is one of several local communities that work together with this organization to leverage independent funds into a larger, more impactful education and outreach. MCM number 2, the intent with this is to provide opportunities for members of the public to get involved in our stormwater efforts. Each summer, Stormwater helps to put on the Eagle Creek cleanup, where members of the public come and help clean up Eagle Creek. It serves 2 purposes, both to get trash out of the Eagle Creek, but also provide awareness to the general public of how important it is to kind of help keep our waterways clean. It's a wonderful way to remove the trash, along with just keeping the awareness. Clear Choices is actually put together by the White River Alliance. It's a way to provide pledges and awareness and social media content so that the general public is more aware about stormwater considerations. So example would be like they take a pledge to limit the amount of fertilize that they put on their lawns, and then also things like preventing litter and picking up wet pet waste. Reporter a polluter, anyone can call and report a concern about pollution, and staff will investigate. MCM number 3, in practical terms, the goal for MCM 3 is to prevent illegal dumping into storm inlets and eliminating cross connections with stormwater and wastewater pipes. Per our IDEM permit, stormwater staff visited 168 town-owned outfalls to inspect those and to test for pollutants. The gray map up here with the yellow triangles is the map of our outfalls. Myself and other members of our staff, like Steve back here. Steve, if you want to wave your hand, visited these along with Bobby, visited these sites. We first had to find the actual outfall because a lot of times, as wooded as Zionsville is, those outfalls, even though that they could be quite large, is like a 24-inch diameter pipe, you'd go down there and you'd find that outfall. So the other thing that we did at each outfall was we obviously had to take a picture. The picture up there is an example of not what we don't want to find, which is the white substance coming out of the pipe. We didn't find that, but the intent was that we logged all these outfalls and made sure that everything at each outfall what we noted or anything that we came up with. What we did find when we went out there was actually places where we were like, hey, there's a pipe problem, there's an undercutting of the riprap, and so we took and made work orders after that to make corrective actions. As I stated earlier, we are responsible for investigate, people can report pollution, and we would go and go investigate that, and that happens very routinely. So kind of that's a wrap up of that MCM. MCM number 4, there's a lot of effort put together on MCM number 4, which is dedicated to stormwater permitting and construction site erosion control. So we actually issue erosion control stormwater permits in advance of building permits. There is a whole host of time and effort that's dedicated to this. And next up is Bobby Knox to talk more about things.
Okay. Okay.
Right there, yeah.
Good morning. So with this slide, we're going to discuss MCM 5 and number 6. So the purpose of MCM number 5 is to manage and clean the stormwater runoff from every site. To achieve this, the requirement, we use best management practices, which are items like ponds, grass-lined swells, aqua swirls, and other practices. Best management practices are referred to as BMPs. If you obviously live in a subdivision or work at an office building here around town, you will most likely see some type of water detention as far as like a wet or dry pond. You will see a wet pond up there at the top right corner. That is there to capture water during a rain event. It allows it to stage there for a period of time and be released in a timely manner. That also serves as time for the sediment and pollutants to settle out before it's released into the waterway. The picture at the bottom right-hand side is a picture of an aqua swirl. We call these mechanical units. These are designed to treat the water as it flows in. It creates a swirling effect. Sediment settles out there. The clean water rises, and the clean water is released. Typically, these are installed on the upstream side of ponds, dry basins, and things like that. They're there to collect the sediment before it gets into the pond because these are easier to maintain and clean with a vac truck versus dredging a pond. And basically, these BMPs, they are owned and managed by the property owner, so that may be an HOA, a business, something like that. Next up is MCM number 6. It ensures that our town-owned facilities and stormwater systems are operating properly. So you will see at the bottom, the two pictures at the bottom left-hand side are pictures of like a work area. One is very cluttered, not clean. The other one is very well organized, stuff's put away. Typically, the second picture is what we see around town. We do inspect each site 4 times a year. We make recommendations to the responsible department head for each facility, and then they'll take corrective actions. We are also looking at the outside facilities for any of our infrastructure that's out there, asphalt that's breaking apart, any type of erosion, trees growing around outlets at some of these places. Okay, next up is other stormwater efforts that we have here. So as part of the stormwater staff, we do get a lot of help from the street side of things because it's only me, Michael, and Steve here. So one of the things that we do, we are always on the road with the street sweeper. This is obviously there to collect any type of grit or trash in the roadways. And obviously, when we collect the trash off the roadways, it doesn't get to our waterways. Over the last 5 years, we have removed 541 tons of material off of the road. I think that's a fairly large number of material that we have removed. So we also have 2 photos here on the bottom right-hand side. These are basically work orders that we have found deficiency on some of our infrastructure. The stormwater structure with the cone around it, with the red paint, we see that quite a bit on the failing infrastructure. They go in to resurface a road or something like that. The sinkhole opens up. We repair that before they can repave again. The other picture at the bottom right-hand side was a known flooding issue. Water would constantly stage there. We ended up installing 3 structures and over 100 feet of pipe there to tie everything in. To date, we have not received a complaint yet from that area since that's been installed. The other 2 photos are a culvert rehab project from this year. It was in between the golf course and the Oakwood subdivision on Turkey Foot. It was a 5-foot diameter pipe, corrugated metal pipe, that was installed in 1990, and the bottom had rusted out. So instead of shutting down the road, replacing the pipe, that road would have been shut down for multiple days. It was determined that the best solution would be to apply a mesh fabric, and then they basically blow in a concrete-like substance. It hardens, and so the road is able to stay open. So that was the best alternative that we took with that. And then I believe I will pass it off to Brad Mayweather. Thank you.
Well, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak on this topic today. As Lance mentioned, I spent the last 18 years working for another municipality that was MS4 permitted. One of my roles was serving as the MS4 coordinator. In my prior role, we encountered several challenges over the years, managing stormwater infrastructure and meeting compliance requirements. As Bobby and Michael have illustrated, there are several challenges that face stormwater departments on a daily basis. I believe these challenges can be transformed into opportunities, though, to enhance residents' quality of life and improve public spaces by designing and utilizing stormwater infrastructure responsibly to minimize negative community impacts. From what I've already seen, the Zionsville Stormwater Department does a fantastic job of not only keeping up with, but exceeding expectations of both the community and all of the regulatory authorities. And so when you think about stormwater, you get into a lot of rules and regulations. Stormwater regulations are governed by multiple levels of authority. Federally, you have the EPA, which governs under the Clean Water Act. On the state level, we report to the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and they are the ones that issue the MS4 permit that we renew every 5 years. And then locally, stormwater policies are enforced by municipalities like the town of Zionsville. These rules and regulations evolve frequently to address emerging pollutants and new environmental priorities. So municipalities must continually interpret and implement updated mandates, such as the MS4 permit requirements that do evolve over time. And it's, administratively, it is a challenge to keep up with those new amendments and things that they require so that you can continue to hold the valid permit that we require. It can be technically complex. And as I stated, administratively demanding. Keeping policies, procedures, and reporting systems current with changing regulations is an ongoing challenge for staff. And so as we look at development and land use, as development occurs and urban areas expand, natural landscapes are increasingly replaced with impervious surfaces such as roads, rooftops, parking lots. These surfaces prevent rainwater from infiltrating into the ground, resulting in greater volumes and faster rates of stormwater runoff. So managing these impacts requires proactive stormwater planning, effective land use policies to balance growth and environmental protection. So construction activities really do pose an ongoing challenge for staff. In Zionsville, you have a lot of development. Where I came from, it was landlocked, so we had a lot of redevelopment at times. But keeping up with those construction sites, and it's no indictment on any construction company or the workers, but many times these sites will fail to comply, or if they comply initially, and maybe somebody installs a silt fence or inlet protection, if that begins to fail over time, sometimes it goes unnoticed. And so if these gentlemen don't go out and see these things and have effective communication with the contractors, then all of a sudden you're now polluting your local streams. You have runoff, you have litter leaving the facility and maybe affecting neighbors. And you get dirt that gets tracked out on a main road, and then people drive through it and get it all over their cars, which becomes an issue. Phones start ringing. And so these guys are the first lines of defense against those things, which is an important task. So there has to be a lot of clear communication between them and the contractors, and then consistent inspection on these sites to make sure that all the rules and procedures are being followed. I'm no scientist, but if you go to any stormwater conference, they will tell you right up front that the weather is getting, the rainfall is, and the flooding is more frequent, more intense. I can't validate that other than I have seen quite a few really bad storms over the years, especially in the last 5 or 10 years. We've had what they call a lot of 100-year storms, which just means there's a 1% chance of that storm happening that year. That's what a 100-year storm is. But when residents hear you say that was a 100-year storm and then it happens the next year, many times they don't understand that, well, that doesn't make any sense. If this is supposed to happen once in 100 years, that's technically not how the term is defined. But I was reading that they're almost looking at recalculating some of the math on these storms because they are getting more frequent and more intense. And so in the world of stormwater, when you design stormwater conveyance systems and ways to get this water away from neighborhoods, when you get a storm like that, it overwhelms things. And then trying to explain to residents that you can't build something really to move that amount of water, no one really can afford to put those types of systems in, becomes a challenge of educating them on what a storm like this does and the impact that it has. It damages infrastructure, it accelerates erosion, and then a lot of what we dealt with was it flooded homes and businesses, especially if you're in an urbanized area and you're limited on capacity, then it starts to back up on people's properties, which again is never a fun thing to have those conversations when someone's personal belongings is floating in their basement or their garage is flooded, and things that they view as personal items might never be the same or something they can't get back. So it's always a challenge and something that you want to do beneficial things to impact their lives in a positive way so that that doesn't happen again if you can do something to avoid it. Lastly, funding and resource constraints. So stormwater management activities such as system maintenance, drainage improvements, and regulatory compliance often rely on limited general funds or budgets shared with other public work functions. So many times the stormwater department is carving its budget out of the same budgets that function and serve road maintenance, sanitation, parks and rec, other things. And so you're always trying to carve out a budget that allows you to do your job in an effective way. But this lack of consistent funding at times can lead to deferred maintenance, inadequate staffing, limited public education, and reduced capacity for long-term planning. Dedicated funding can support a more structured and sustainable approach that strengthens service reliability, reduces flooding risk, and promotes responsible stewardship of community resources. Additionally, the transparency and accountability associated with a utility-based funding model can help build public trust by clearly linking stormwater fees to visible improvements and measurable community benefits. So from my experience, was somewhat unique. I served about 18 years there. For the first 9, we did not have a stormwater utility. So we were in the situation where we were using budgets that were shared by other departments. We did establish a utility, and so for the last 9, we had one. So I kind of got to see both sides of that. For us, we had a stormwater master plan with a lot of projects on it, and the community, I think, mentality was, well, you're going to come out, you're going to look at my drainage problem, you're going to put a cost on it, and then it's going to go into this graveyard of this list, and nothing ever gets done on this list. That was our experience. When we had dedicated revenue that then was into the stormwater program, there was a little more hope because we started to complete list projects, and then people felt like, okay, now there's funding for this. If I go on this list, I might actually get my project done. And that was good to see, and so that was just one of the positive benefits I saw from that. I appreciate the time, and I'll let Director Lance close us out.
Thank you, Brad. I've
Brad,
appreciated his.
Can I just
Yes.
real quick just ask Brad, you mentioned 18 years there and previous from, was that Beech Grove? Is that where you were from, the 18 years at Beech Grove? Okay, thank you.
I have appreciated Brad's perspective coming from another community who's faced with implementing the same permit requirements as we are here in the town of Zionsville. So as mentioned, there is a cost to this. This is not something that we elect to do. This is something that we must do. We must maintain our infrastructure and maintain permit compliance. And one of the first things the mayor did when he took office is come up with that 5-year budget plan. And based on the most current iteration of that, we are projecting about a $943,000 a year cost to maintaining this baseline stormwater program. We do take in a little bit of revenue there, where there's about $35,000 in fees and fines on average per year over the last 5 years. Most of those are predominantly in fees. Fines are very few and far between. This is currently funded out of the Motor Vehicle Highway Fund. That is basically a property tax levy fund. Once the motor vehicle highway receives the state gasoline tax distribution, this council, working with the mayor's office, then props up the rest of the motor vehicle highway fund with property taxes. This is not eligible for lit, so there are really very few revenue streams that are available to fund this program as we currently have it sitting. This is, like I said, we must do this. This is basically a baseline level of funding to keep the lights on, doors open, always providing customer service. While we may not always be able to solve a specific problem, we can certainly be a technical resource, and we spend a lot of times talking to people in one-on-one situations with where they can help themselves in their backyards. And of course, we obviously must maintain permit compliance. Earlier this year, you had funded a study at the request of the mayor where we engaged Christopher Burke to develop a possible scenario on what a user-based fee utility would look like. There are 3 common methods for a stormwater utility in the state of Indiana. There's a flat fee, everybody pays the same. There's a per acre fee, depends on how big your property is. And then there's the impervious surface-based fee, and that functions much as the EDU does. If you've heard me talk about sanitary, you basically come up with the baseline level of impervious surface on a residential property, and then every non-residential property is a factor thereof, or a multiple thereof. This is a very common revenue source in the state of Indiana. There are 120 cities, towns, and counties, and across the board, it's about a $6.51 per month fee, and that is your, basically, if you want to, for lack of a better, more clear term, that's just your basic residential fee. Where are we on this? We're fairly stalled in this. Well, I'm sorry, that's not this slide. Going back to $943,000, again, what could that provide? Again, thinking of that as a property tax levy that could be redistributed to different departments. In speaking with the Chiefs Spears and Chief Van Gorder, it's about 7 firefighters a year. Once they're on boarding costs, once you have them on, those are kind of the minimum costs to maintain those 7 employees for the year, or 6 patrol officers. Obviously, you could do any combination thereof. And this is a very simplified, cartoonish type display, but this is real money that could be reallocated to other uses in town. And obviously, I've focused here in my demonstration on public safety because that's what we hear a lot in needing to find ways to prop up in the wake of SEA 1. But I would be remiss if I didn't throw out that $943,000 could also repave about 4 miles of road, could build a nice pathway segment. So there are a lot of other opportunities and needs as we look forward to into the future of the funding needs of this community.
Lance,
yes.
real quick before you go to the next one, a couple of slides back, you mentioned the Christopher Burke engineering study and common revenue sources says 120 cities, towns, and counties, average monthly cost $651 per ERU. Was that 651 calculated for us, or is that what the average 120?
That is the state. That's the statewide average.
So the 120 cities, towns?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
we are, as a staff level, we've taken the consideration of utility about as far as we can. At this point, the next step would be that the mayor, working with this board, would appoint a stormwater utility board. That board would then take several months to take testimony from staff, considerations, needs, and review things. This would function very much like the Parks Board does, where they create an annual budget and present it to you for your consideration and approval. Part of their board, or the job of that board, would be to determine a justified fee. They would be required to hold a public hearing on the fee once they got comfortable, and if they wanted to proceed with that. Again, here you are the gatekeepers of this process, no matter what. This board would make recommendations to you. You would have to then consider an ordinance to establish this fee, and then you would have ongoing oversight each year on the budgetary requests should this come to fruition. So thank you for your attention this morning. I know stormwater can be a little bit dry at times. I know, it's Monday. It's the best I could do at 7:30 on a Monday morning. But hopefully you took away from this presentation that there's a lot of facets to stormwater. It's not just flooding. It's not just making sure it's clean. It's operations. It's a lot of things. And we are very fortunate to have a staff that is passionate and dedicated to this. And water means a lot of things to many people. It's, you know, we pretty much take it for granted here in central Indiana that every time we jump in the shower, water's going to come on and it's going to be reliable. And I rushed us out of here. But just, you know, good, safe, clean, reliable, local water sources are critical for the health of any community, ours included. And we'd be happy to have any questions now or follow up with anything that may occur to you as you mull this over later in the day.
Any questions or comments for Lance?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Lance, certainly appreciate the work of the DPW and everybody with stormwater, and I know you guys are doing everything you can, so thank you very much. Next up on the agenda is first item of old business. This is a consideration of a non-DLGF budget. This is the second reading, ordinance 2025-25. We have Mayor Stair, we have Mia. Anybody have any questions for them? Again, this is second reading, so this would be an approval. If there are no questions, I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
A second from Councilor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda is a consideration of the 2026 salary ordinance. This is also a second reading. And we have Joe Keel here, Director of HR, if there are questions. Is there anything from councilors? Having none, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve ordinance 2025-26.
And first from Councilor, or from Vice President Burke, a second from Councilor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance approving a letter agreement between the Town of Zionsville and Citizens Energy. This is ordinance 2025-27. I received notification on Friday that the petitioner would like to have this continued to the next meeting. Is that correct? That's correct. Yeah. So we will, unless there are any objections from councilors, I'll make a motion to continue this to the next meeting.
Second.
A second from Councilor Norris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda is the approval of the 2026 meeting schedule. You all have this schedule in front of you. It's similar to the schedule we had this year. I did want to make one change, Amy. I noticed that we pulled the first September meeting, and we did that last year because it fell on like a Tuesday. We moved it to a Tuesday. But I noticed the first Monday is actually September 7th, so I'd like to add that back in.
Okay, I'll make
So we'll
that
keep that
change.
September 7th meeting.
Okay,
When is Labor Day?
It's a Tuesday before that, so it gives us a full week before it. So I'm sorry, let me back up, actually. Let me look at that again, Amy. Good point. I was actually looking at the,
I agree that I wrote a note to myself that I think we might need that September meeting because the budget constraints that we fell into this year.
I was actually looking at 25. I apologize for that. So that would be the first one.
Yeah, Labor Day is September 7th. So would we want to have one shifted meeting to a Tuesday?
No, I think we're still good to keep that one off. I think the reality is, once we have this schedule in, August 17th, September 21st. We do have that's a full month there, and we could call a special meeting if we had to. But I think for planning purposes, you'll notice that the second meeting in January and February fall in line with MLK Day and President's Day, and then the April meeting with the school schedule with spring break, October meeting for fall break. So, yeah, I apologize for that. I guess the only other question I had for counselors was, would there be any appetite to move the time of the second meeting from 7 o'clock up to 6:30 or 6? We've never done that, but that's certainly been something that we've talked about with other counselors in the past, and
You mean the first meeting of the
Wait,
month?
in the morning?
yeah, I'm sorry, first meeting of the month, sorry.
I
5:30
object.
a.m.
I'm looking at this, the first meeting of the month, the evening meeting from 7 to 6 or 6:30. If not, that's fine, I just wanted to throw it out there.
I always tend to think that if we moved it up an hour, that would probably help us with our super long meetings like we had last meeting. I mean, I tend to be supportive of that.
So-
We want to move it up to 6.
Can we go to 6:30 with all my kids?
Oh, that's, yeah.
I mean, a lot of activities, and at 5:30, I got to get them home somehow.
No, that's fair. I mean, I'm fine to keep it at 7, I'm fine to move to 6:30, I just wanted to throw it out there.
I like 7.
I'm okay with 6:30 or 7.
I'm fine with 7 too.
7 it is.
Sorry.
All right, so any
I like the
questions?
idea though.
I
Well,
know.
I mean,
But reality check.
occasionally it happens, but, any other questions or comments regarding the schedule of meetings?
Are we approving everyone's meetings and not just ours? Okay.
It's just ours, correct, Amy?
Yes, that's what you're
Yeah.
approving. The other meetings have gone through the staff that supports whatever that board is.
Okay, then.
Jason, do we have the leeway, in the event we have a meeting like our last one, with appropriate notice to the community to move it up to 6? Or once we lock this in, do we have to keep it at 7 no matter what?
That's a good question. Dustin, Amy, is there any reason why we couldn't modify a meeting? If we know we've got a heavy agenda, could we change the time and notice it?
Yes, but as long as we noticed it,
Yeah.
yeah, within 48 hours before.
Okay.
That's not a bad point.
That's
Like
good.
Monday, we should have moved it to like
That was brutal.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, then we just still would have been there till 10. or
That's
11.
true.
All right, any other questions? Otherwise, I would make a motion to approve the 2026 meeting schedule.
Second.
I have a second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda is the consideration of an interlocal agreement between the town of Whitestown and the town of Zionsville regarding the town court. We have John Oberlander, town attorney, to present.
Good morning, councilors. Excuse me, John Oberlander, Chief Legal Counsel for the town. This has been a long gestating interlocal agreement between Whitestown and Zionsville. This is going to allow Whitestown to file their ordinance violations in the Zionsville Town Court. And the way the agreement's structured, we keep all the court costs, and then we would also keep half of the fines.
So we take 100% of the court costs for every single case filed in Whitestown and Zionsville.
That's correct.
And then we keep 50% of the fees generated from Whitestown, but we keep 100% of the fees generated from Zionsville.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So that would only be for ordinance violations. So if it's a $50 fine, we keep 25 of that and all of the court costs.
Okay. And will this sustain the court then, I assume?
Yeah,
Or
it
help
should
to
be.
sustain the court?
Yes, we've worked a lot with Judge Spencer to get to where she's comfortable, both with the docket size and with the revenue coming in. It should be revenue neutral for the town.
Perfect.
Okay. I feel like Evan made a good point because number 4 in the interlocal agreement says that Zionsville shall retain 50%? Wait. Does it need to be spelled out? I guess it would just be
That's
the
just for the
costs.
fines.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so there's between fines and costs. Costs are
Yeah, I see it now.
statutorily mandated. They pay for the operations of the court, and then the fine is just the fine that's in the ordinance schedule.
The cost is your entry fee to file your lawsuit, and then the fine is whatever the judge adjudicates at the end of the lawsuit against you.
I saw that it was spelled out about the 50% for fines, but I didn't see the 100% versus the 50% in the,
I think it's just assumed.
That's what I mean. Does it need to be spelled out versus assumed?
Yeah, I think that's in there. Let me find that.
No, number 3 starts with Zionsville shall be responsible for the docketing and collection of all court costs and fines assessed.
Okay, but then it says the distribution of costs shall be allocated in the normal course of business with Whitestown Police Department being the recipient, but it doesn't go on to
So-
say that we keep all of the costs. Is that just not normal to include?
That's in there. It says we keep all the costs. There is one section of the court cost that's for the continuing education fund for the police department. So that would go back to Whitestown. We keep all the rest. And most of
Yes.
those are actually sent to the state and the county. We actually keep a very small proportion of those court costs.
Okay, but I feel like we're only talking, I don't know if this matters, but we're only talking about the Whitestown costs there. And I didn't know if, even though this isn't about our own court costs, if it should have a sentence that specifically says about our costs, so that there's no way they could come back and say, wait.
So this
Your-
interlocal only addresses ordinance violations that
Okay.
Whitestown files. So this has nothing to do with what is filed in the town court on
Okay.
behalf of Zionsville.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for?
Well, John, yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of it, but the current situation, obviously, I'm super familiar with our judge and our court, but Whitestown currently, what do they do currently?
They don't file ordinance violations. Their town court was abolished a few years ago. I guess there were some issues with their clerk treasurer, and it was shut down by the state. So they don't currently have a town court. And as far as I know, they're not actually filing ordinance violations. So all the infractions go up to the county, but right now they're not filing ordinance violations.
Okay, thank you.
It just addresses our.
Any other questions for John?
Should we need to change this in the future? We just go through this process again?
Yeah, we can amend it, and there's also, if you notice, a 60-day termination period in there, so we just give them notice if it's not working out for whatever reason, 60-day notice, and we can be out of the agreement.
Great. Yeah, this is, again, just to point out to the public, this is not modifying our court agreement. This is just simply adding Whitestown to this. So that's why, a lot of the discussion up here about different things with Zionsville hasn't necessarily been addressed because we're not changing our court structure. We're just
That's
adding
correct.
Whitestown to it. My questions, John, would just be two things, and I mentioned this to the mayor during the budget process. Adding additional people or additional caseload, and knowing that that Judge Spencer has requested in the past a court-appointed interpreter. I just want to make sure that's still on our radar, because as we start to open up, other cases throughout the area, that may be something we need to.
Absolutely, and when Judge Spencer worked on her budget for next year, it was contemplating this interlocal agreement being in place.
Good. And then also, I think we just need to be cognizant as the caseload potentially increases. I know salary ordinances are set by us. I think we just need to be cognizant of, Judge Spencer's caseload and salary if that, starts to get up there, so.
Absolutely, and right now, she's going to keep it, she has court one night a month, going to keep it the same. She's considering maybe adding a second night if necessary, but right now, everything's going to remain the same as far as court time.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions for John? Otherwise, I would make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement of the town of Whitestown and the town of Zionsville.
Second.
A second from Counselor Norris. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. Are there any other matters from counselors? Otherwise, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 1st, 2025, at 7 p.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Final notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Thank you.
Thank you.